These fish will be perfect in your 20-gallon aquarium. Now listen, if you have a community tank and you haven't tried Congo Tetras, I'm not sure what's wrong with you, and we probably couldn't be friends. These fish are absolutely stunning and, dare I say, one of the most attractive fish in the entire hobby. They're ridiculously easy to keep, so they're very beginner friendly, and they wouldn't hurt a fly, so you can almost mix them with anything. They're even a great addition to your cichlid tank as long as you don't keep the really mean ones. Just remember, if it can fit in a cichlid's mouth, it's food. Even the peaceful ones. These like to be in a nice group, but they can max out at almost 3 inches, so don't go crazy in a 20-gallon. And keep the temperature around 78 to 80 with a pH around neutral, and believe me, these will quickly become one of your favorite fish. The Silvertip Tetra is one of my personal favorite community fish in the hobby, and you only need to look at them for a second to see why. These are super active little fish that are going to max out around 2 inches. They like to swim around in groups of 6 to 8 and have some absolutely striking little, well, silver tips on their fins. It's something you just have to see to understand. They stand out from across the room. I remember having a conversation with Greg from Office Aquatics a while back where he told me he hates these fish with a passion. And I never really got an explanation as to why. The only thing I could come up with is, he's just not very smart. And yes, I'll say it to his face. Even though he's a giant that could practically carry Lisa's 300-gallon aquarium all by himself. Of course, I'm totally kidding here. He really did say that, but you know what? He has his reasons, so I'm not going to argue. He really is one of the smartest, kindest, most amazing human beings I've ever met, and I'd do absolutely anything for him. What are you talking about? No, it has nothing to do with the fact that he's like 6'7", 280, and literally looks like the Big Show if the Big Show was jacked. Yeah, you'd kiss his ass too. Purple Emperor Tetras are a fish you don't see everywhere, but you definitely should. The scientific name is Iphthyocara, who cares? They stay pretty small at 1.5 inches or maybe a little longer, won't eat your plants, and more importantly, won't eat any of your other fish. Now here's the thing. These fish like their water to be a lower pH, like 6 to 7, and you can accomplish that by creating the ideal environment for them, which is dark water. Dark water tanks are aquariums full of tannins from natural botanicals like catappa leaves, alder cones, and driftwood. This gives the tank kind of an iced tea look, which is not for me, but a lot of people like it. It's not required to keep Purple Emperor Tetras, but if you want them to show the most purple possible, you'll want to do it. But what is required in keeping these fish is to keep them in groups. Get 6 to 8 of them, darken up their water with botanicals, and watch that purple scream. Ruminos Tetras are a fish you'll find in pretty much every pet store, and they have a reputation of being super easy to keep by some and a nightmare for others. As for my personal experience with them, it's been a little of both. We had a batch a while back that were doing great for a couple years. Then one day Lisa does a water change and came back like an hour later, and every single one of the Ruminos were stuck to the intake of the filter, while all the discus, which are supposed to be the fragile fish, were perfectly fine. The flip side of that is Lisa has another batch right now in a heavily planted tank and has never lost one. And it's been years. Since we've experienced both extremes, I'll tell you Ruminos Tetras can be hit or miss. But to give you the best chance with them, I'd keep the pH around neutral, keep the water around 80 degrees, and keep a good sized group of them so they don't get lonely. There's also the debate of wild-caught versus tank-raised Ruminos. I've always hated the idea of wild-caught, but then Jason from Primetime Aquatics and I did an episode of the Tank Talk podcast with a representative from Project Piaba, and it completely changed the way I look at things. I'll put a link in the description of that episode. Check it out and let me know what you think. Shell dwellers, or shellies as I like to call them, are the first fish on this list that you're really going to want to keep in a tank by themselves. Not because they're super aggressive or anything, it's so that you can keep the fish the right way and watch them do what they do. If you put a group of these little fish in a tank with a bunch of large shells, they'll all start to pair off with each other, find a shell to make their home, and start making babies. The teeniest, tiniest babies you've ever seen. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen too, because there'll be a pair of these fish in the shell over here, another one over here, and then another one in the back. They'll reproduce and the babies will grow and will find their own shells to start a family of their own. And before you know it, every shell in the tank will have a little family of shellies in it. I don't know of any other fish in the hobby that does it like they do. It's just the coolest thing ever. But what a lot of people don't like is the fact that, well, it's just a tank full of empty shells in it. I get it. It's not the best look, but when you watch the community of fish and you watch them grow and reproduce, it more than makes up for the tank not being the prettiest thing in the world. Just trust me on this one. Oh, and what shell dweller do I recommend? All of them. All the shell dwellers. If you followed me for any length of time, you were totally expecting two fish to make this list. Ruminos Tetras and Harlequin rasboras. And Oscars, but come on, we're talking 20 gallons here. Harlequins are a beautiful orange color with a prominent lamb chop on their sides. They don't get huge, only about 1.5 inches. They're plant safe and do best in groups of 6 to 8. What more could you ask for? Now to the elephant in the room. Are these fish named after the DC Comics character Harley Quinn? Absolutely not. In fact, these fish were recognized in the hobby almost 100 years before the Harley Quinn character was even introduced in the comics. No, these fish are named Harlequin due to the lamb chop marks somehow resembling a jester character from centuries ago called, well, you guessed it, a Harlequin. In fact, it's my understanding that the Harley Quinn character name is actually a play on Harlequin. Not the other way around, but I'm just telling you what I've heard. I don't know if I'm right. But hey, listen, if you've got Harlequins and you want to tell your friends that you got them because you love the Harleen Quinzel character from DC Comics, knock yourself out. I don't hate it.
We're bad guys. It's what we do.
Lelupai. Luli. I don't care how you pronounce it. I call them Lelupai. These Lake Tanganyikan cichlids have been a standout to me since the first time I saw them because of their solid yellow color. I'm a sucker for yellow fish. It's weird too, because a lot of the articles you'll read about these fish say they're orange, and I've never understood that. They call yellow fish like Lelupai orange, and orange fish like red zebras red. Are these people colorblind, or am I just stupid? Anyway, these aren't necessarily going to be fish you're going to want to mix with community fish like your tetras and rasboras, but they'll mix really well with other small Tanganyikan cichlids, and believe me, there's plenty that stay small enough to keep in a 20 gallon. I put Lelupai on here because, well, they're just stunning. Who doesn't love a yellow fish? Or orange if you're one of those people. Maybe there's an orange Lelupai out there and I've only seen the yellow ones. Who knows? This video is already getting a bit long because I've been rambling so much, so let's do the next few in rapid fire. Bristlenose Tetras or Xray Tetras are another small under 2-inch community fish that mixes well with others. They work best in groups, won't hurt your plants, and can thrive in pretty much whatever water you have out of your tap. I mean, unless you live like next to Chernobyl or something. Corydoras or cory cats are really cool little bottom feeders that'll give you tons of activity and constantly scavenge around the bottom of your tank, picking up whatever's missed by the fish up top. They stay small, can mix with all community fish, will eat pretty much anything that falls to the bottom, and can fit into a lot of the little nooks and crannies in your tank that others can't get to. These are one of the most important fish on the list to keep in groups. Don't just get a pair. Get like 6 of them and you won't be sorry. Platies, our first live bearer to hit the list, which basically means the females will just randomly pop out free swimming babies, which is great and cute, but can become a problem if you don't have somewhere to keep the babies. If you want to avoid this, just ask the fish store to only give you males. You won't really notice a difference in the appearance, and to my knowledge, males can't just produce babies on their own. Bristlenose Plecos, quite possibly the ugliest living thing to come out of the water, but you know what? That's what makes them cool. I mean, one of my favorites is Oscars, so who am I to say? Bristlenose will scavenge around the tank like cory cats looking for uneaten food, but they won't do it nearly as fast as cories. In fact, they're one of those fish that you can actually worry about because every time you look in the tank, you realize it hasn't moved in days. They're fine. They're nocturnal. They're doing all their work while you're asleep. Cherry barbs, quite possibly the most striking fish on this list, although I do think I said that about Concho tetras. They're also one of the easiest fish to keep because they can tolerate a wide range of parameters, making them perfect for the beginners that are still trying to figure things out. But if you want them to have the super red color, you're going to need to have them in a group of 6 to 8 so they're not lonely, keep the water clean, and feed them well. What do you feed them? Well, Northfin Community or Extreme Community Crave, of course. What else would you feed them? Anyway, that's all I've got. Check out keepfishkeeping.com. Bye.